Thank you. Bye. Hey, everybody, I think I'm here. So, this is so amazing as a professional speaker because people ask me all the time, do you get nervous when you speak in front of an audience? And the answer is, I don't really when they're live. But wow, my heart was just pounding because it was 2 o'clock and for some reason I wasn't where I needed to be. And this is the fun of learning something new. So if you'll just give me a quick thumbs up in the chat, if you can hear me and see me and tells me that I've done this right. I have over 114 people it says listening to me. And that's kind of a scary thought because I live with two people who don't listen to me at all. And so, hey, I get a thumbs up. Sherry, thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you for being patient with me. And now, my speaker's on the line. You know how this is. We're behind the curtain. We're ready to go out. There's 200 people there, and we're going, okay, now get your focus on. So, right, it's showtime, go time, and I'm ready to go. So, hey, everybody, I'm Laurie Guest, and I am coming to you today to talk about smart communications during a challenging time. And we have already gotten questions that have come to me ahead of time. I can see the chat window going and it's going by so fast. If there was questions in there, I missed it. And so I do have some technical help, some virtual technical help. So Lisa Trafone, if you're there, love you. Thanks for getting this set up for me and doing all the hard part. And so if there are good questions I need to know that I'm missing on the chat, you can certainly text me. So we are going to dive right in. And so right off the top of the call, there's a couple things that I want to say. First of all, at the time of this live recording, we had 27 of our 50 states on a stay-at-home order, and I am one of those states. So I've been inside for 13 days and have only left for essential errands. And this is the first time that I have ever wished that my workout location was open and mandatory, as a matter of fact. And so I do have a couple things I want to make sure off the top that I get to. Number one, I am not an expert on a pandemic, as you can imagine. So if you want insight into that, I strongly encourage you go to coronavirus.gov and get up to the minute updates on what's going on with this virus. Number two, I am not a fortune teller, so I have no idea where this thing is going to end up on the back end. So what can I provide you today? Smart communication that you can use now. And that's what I'm going to get into. I have three main things that I want to tell you today. I'm going to keep it short and brief. And I also want to answer a couple of the questions that came in ahead of time that I thought were absolutely fantastic. And I will add to this information. And so let's get started on that. Okay, the first thing is direct action that serve the immediate needs of our non-essential service providers. That's what I want to focus on. And for just a moment, I want to say thank you. I know that they are not listening to this because they're too busy. They won't hear it live and they won't hear the recording later. But for our essential personnel, I have a healthcare background. To those of you in healthcare and our police and fire and all the other essential services, just let me take a moment to say thank you. This is not the time for you to be focused on what we're talking about. I'm really aimed at people right now who are sequestered and trying to figure out how do we handle this communication-wise when people aren't even using our services. And for some of you, they may not even care about your service right now. And sometimes that's a little hard to accept. So the first thing I want to say is the idea of putting a pause on recurring fees or memberships. And I have a couple really good examples of this. I'm a member of our local wellness center here in Northern Illinois, in DeKalb, Illinois. And I was curious what they were going to do with the monthly fees. And what's ironic about this is I pay a monthly fee on a regular basis and don't go as often as I should. But now that they've locked the doors, now I'm all worried about the fact I can't get in and I can't go. Or more importantly, where does my monthly fee go? So I know that they're not there to answer the phone, but I pulled up the website. And before I could even click around to see how they're handling it, I have to say to you, Northwestern Wellness Center, 2 thumbs up for you, because this is what the website says, and I quote, "We will work through applying a credit for your membership dues to cover the period the center is closed." Well worded. It makes me go, okay, good. I'm not spending all this money every month at a place that I can't use. But please tell me how ironic is I didn't use it for the 3 months leading up to the virus. So, I mean, if we were doing comedy hour, there's a little bit of comedy right there. Here's another really interesting one. And if you haven't done this already, I would recommend look at your recurring monthly bills and ask any of those providers if you have some options. So I am a loyal Verizon wireless customer, and I called them and I said, let's take a look at my history, what devices I'm using. And they found two important things. Number one, I have two telephone lines that are specific for secret shopping. I have a secret shopper division, and I'm not going to be doing any of that work for the foreseeable near future. So they were willing to put a pause on those two lines, not disconnect the numbers because I need them, but I don't need them right now. Now that's $40 a month for those two calls combined, and that little bit can add up. But here's the exciting thing. When we pulled up all my devices, we found out there was a tablet that I stopped using 21 months ago. It doesn't even exist anymore. It's at the bottom of an electronic landfill somewhere. And yet I've been paying 20 bucks a month. Verizon actually owes me $420 for a device that they should have taken off my account that I didn't catch because I just pay it automatically with a credit card. I don't open the envelope and look at the bill. Shame on me. But here's the important part about smart communication. When I was talking to the service provider, I said to him, look, I got to take a look at this bill, save some dollars when I can. His response was, yes, let's look at this together and we'll find every dime we can to help you out. And I think that that is fantastic. It's good wording that says you're right there with me along the way. So that's important. So number one is, can you put a pause on memberships or monthly fees that are happening? All right, next. I want you to look at increased contact through social media, emails, and phone calls, depending on the level of usage that the client already had with you. I know a friend and I were just talking about this. I'm getting emails from businesses I've never even done business with, and they're telling me how they're handling the virus. I feel strongly, if you haven't already done this, your client base should be divided into categories, your A, Bs, and Cs. Your A's are your frequent flyer. They use you all the time. They deserve a phone call or a well-crafted email. And then you have your Bs, your occasional users, and then maybe there's Cs, people that are on your mailing list or your database, but they haven't done business with you in a long time. If you have a strong system, you should already be able to categorize those people. But my point is the information that goes out to them needs to be strategic. So I've received updates directly from three key sources in my life right now: my accountant, my physician, and my hairstylist. I'll let you take a guess which one of those people I'm going to miss the most. That's right, the hairstylist. But they each handled it differently, and they each did it in a fantastic manner. So here's my shout outs for them. My accountant. I've done my corporate taxes, but they still have our personal taxes. They sent a very specific email that said, these are the 4 ways that you're going to be able to access your taxes once we tell you they're done. So we breathe a sigh of relief because we know we have these options and they'll let us know when. It was a well done email, and they have too big a volume during this busy time for them to make personal phone calls. So a thumbs up on that. The second one was the physician. The physician sent out a mass email saying how they were handling care. It was also well worded. But now my hairstylist, who I see every 5 to 6 weeks and feel like I have a professional relationship with, what did she choose to do? She got on the telephone. And she didn't just say, we'll reschedule when this is passed. We chose a date where we hope we're going to be past this. And at the end, she said, now you realize I may have to call and bump this again. And the conversation was connected. It was an excellent phone call. Now is the perfect time for me to take a couple questions that have come in. And I just think these are really well done. The first one comes from an audience member that I had at an event I did earlier in the year. I'm not going to identify her other than her first name is Lisa. And she shared that, let me give you some background on her field so we give some context around this. She is help for students. Provides, I don't know if it's tutoring or counseling, but it's an in-person type service for students who are getting ready to go on to college level. And now everything's come to a screeching halt. So her question for me is, how should I reach out to these people and what should I say? Is email the best way to do it? And how do we get anybody to pay attention when the first answer everybody's giving is, we're just not thinking about that right now. And we don't know when school is going to be back in session. And for many of us, school's been closed for the rest of the year. So Lisa's question to me, and Lisa, I hope you're on the line with me. And if you are, thank you so much for the question, because it's a good one and it applies to so many of the people who are here, even if their industries are different. So here's the advice that I have. I do agree that email is the best approach at this time. Well-crafted words are the key. Those of you who know me know it's all about the words. And this is what I believe. When others take their foot off the gas, it's our time to put the pedal down. See, there's so many people right now that are saying, okay, we're sequestered, so therefore we shut down, or we need to manage things that are going on in our house, so let's take a break. My phone isn't ringing with any new business, so I guess I'm out of business, or at least on a pause. Those are all comments and thoughts and mentality that says, I'm just going to step off the gas. Those of you who are listening, if you have any ability to do the opposite of that right now and put the pedal down, this is the time to do it. And Lisa, I think that's some of the wording that goes into your email. That's not exactly right. It would have to be wordsmith, and we have some help for that if you need it, is to wordsmith how to say this. I think that you grant permission to them. Step one, grant permission to take a rest. It's almost like a spring break. Even if you've already had spring break, we grant you permission to take another week for a breather. The second step is to tell them to reset and buckle down, because there is going to be an end to this. And we want them to be ready. We want them to be ready to apply to their colleges. We want to make sure that they've kept up on their coursework. And now is not the time. I don't know what your cancellation policy is, but I currently, as a professional speaker, am engaging in a no-risk cancellation clause. What that means is my normal clause in my contract has come out, and I've replaced it instead with an agreement that we're all in this together. And that if you agree to engage with me, we can either delay the payment, or if you need to cancel, there is no risk to either party except for the money owed for work already done. I don't know if any of that applies to your work, but those are some of the words I would like you to use. Give permission to take a break. Encourage them to put pedal down when everyone else is coming off the accelerator, and give them hope that there is something on the other end of this. And I hope that advice helps you, Lisa. All right. The other one I got was actually from a friend of mine, Susie, who is a very close friend. And she put on my Facebook page a great question. And here's what she said. We tried a group Facebook time with my family yesterday, and it was great. Several of us were able to have a virtual meeting online. Can you touch on other similar apps that we could use? And I do want to talk about this because everybody's going online right now, just like I'm online with you. And so I'm a big Zoom fan. I've used Zoom long before this happened. I'm familiar with how it works. And you can have a whole bunch of people there. It looks like Brady Bunch squares, and you can interact, and there's all kinds of fun things you can do on the Zoom platform. But there are several others. The first thing I did, because I don't use any other platforms, is I placed a call to a great resource. Her name is Beth Z, your nerdy best friend, and she is all things app. Anything I want to know about apps, she is my first 911 call. And so this comes to you compliments of Beth Z. She says that another one that at first she kind of poo-pooed, but now she's starting to like, is a app called House Party. And that could be great for family connections and large groups. I haven't used it yet, but I'm gonna. I'm actually toying around with the idea of doing an open game night with Laurie, just for total fun. And I might try using House Party for that. So if you're interested in knowing about game show night with Laurie, let me know about that. There's also the WhatsApp. WHAT''SAPP. According to Beth, that is a classic. I've not used it myself, but she says it's really good for international calls. My friend Danielle piped in and said that is what she's used, and has talked to her father in another, I think he's in Panama, and that's been a good basis for her. And also, FaceTime is another option, but the downside of that is everybody has to be an iUser to be able to use that. So if I had to narrow it down, Susie, to answer your question, I'm a Zoom fan, and I'm also going to check into House Party. Those are the two that we have there. My friend Marilyn chimed in, and she said that she uses the WhatsApp for her French family all the time. And then you probably speak French, Marilyn. I love that. Angela Gaffney's here. Thanks, Ange, for joining. She said she also uses WhatsApp. So I need to check that one out. So those are the two things that I would encourage you to do on the social side. And what's wrong with being social with your clients? Today on this call, I have a mix of people. I've got some speaker friends. I've got some friends right down the street. And then I have clients who are looking for what's the best advice on how to deal with my customers. We have a mixed group of people. And I think that's one of the small silver linings that we can find is a new way to bring community together. And I think that's the way you can do that. Um, Laurie Klink is on the line, and she said, how do you suggest calming clients who are anxious about meeting our technology when they're not familiar with it? Great question, Laurie. Also, I did not plant that question, so I didn't know it was coming, but it's a really good one. And the answer is, I think that giving people step-by-step on how to do it. Just like today, I was late to the party because I had a few technology gaffes, and I was okay. Lisa kept me calm. She talked me through it. But if you would have been 500 clients or paid people who are waiting, I think it would have been hard for me to kind of get it under control. And so having the steps of step one, you do this, step two, you do that. If somebody's brand new, I always think that that helps. Okay. Another one of my pre-planted questions here, and by planted, I just mean I had time to think about it ahead of time. I think this is important, is we need to instill confidence with our clients that we're going to be here for you when this is all done. So I recently did an interview with the Washington Post, and it was in the travel agency world. And I know I have several travel advisors on the line today. Thank you for being here. I know this is a very tough time for you as well. Your industry is really getting hit. We don't know what it'll be like on the backside, but I believe in my heart we will have luxury travel again. And so that's why Washington Post was interviewing me. They were actually looking for ways that they could help consumers get a refund. What words should they use? And I actually had to go the other direction and say, let's talk more about the relationships that we're building. What words are we using to stay connected? And if you have chosen to use a trusted travel advisor, then I think it's about how can we work together? The same way I did with the Verizon rep, and that I'd been a client for a long time, and I wanted to maintain that relationship rather than threatening that I was going to disconnect my wireless. So what words are you using to try to keep connected with your customers as we're in this together, rather than distancing yourself and coming out on that other side? I think that's really important. It looks like we've been on for almost about 20 minutes. I'm going to take a look at the thread in just a second. And we have a question about why YouTube instead of Zoom today. And the answer is because it's available for everybody. You don't have to do a download. It was the easiest thing for us to do to make sure it was as inclusive as possible. There are certainly lots of different ways to do it, but I felt like YouTube was something most everybody knows how to access, where Zoom, for a few people, I think that's still a little foreign. Like my friend Laurie said, how do we get you comfortable with it? And we thought this was the easiest way to do that. So I'm going to check with a couple other questions, and then in about 3 minutes, I'm going to wrap up with a couple closing thoughts. So hang with me for a few more minutes. Michelle says, should we offer to help our customers with payment plans and discounts up front, or simply mention that if they need to discuss their service, they can contact our office? Great question. I don't know off the top of my head what field you're in, Michelle, but I don't think you have to be so quick to offer discounts. In the speaking world, a lot of us have said that the deposit will apply to future work. I want to remain in that hopeful. So if I were in your shoes, I would reach out with a, how can we be helpful to you? We're here for you during this challenging time, those types of words. But I would not offer the discount if they didn't ask for it. So again, I'm going to go back to my Verizon guy. Off the top, if he had said, well, let me knock $20 a month off of your account without us really pursuing options, I certainly would have taken him up on that offer, but we still found the money in a different way. And so I would say, don't be too quick to offer that up, but you have to have your internal systems ready for when the ask comes, so that you're ready with what you want that answer to be. Marcia says, hey, Marcia, I'm glad you're here today. It says, my dad is 82 and has been auditing a college class. He's used Zoom to communicate with his professor even before I've used it, and I'm pretty fluent with technology. So I think what Marcia's saying is that all ages can use that and can interact with it really well. And so I think that's good. So as I lead you to a summary, let me tell you a couple things. Number one, marketing director and extraordinary human being, Lisa, has captured your questions on the side because I knew I wouldn't be able to read them and talk at the same time. So she's capturing those so that if we do come back with another session, those are the questions we'll be using, and we'll keep you alerted to that. Make sure that if you want to know when I'm going live, you subscribe to any one of my channels, whether that be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or YouTube, and that will keep you posted. And I will try to always give you the theme of the call. So if it doesn't apply to you, you don't need to take your valuable time to join in. But I try to make it always be something that can be practical for you. So let me close with this. The words are where it makes a difference. And so let me give you an example. Right at the beginning of all of this, probably 14 days ago, I went to Walmart and I bought 7 items and I went through the self-checkout line. In the middle of my 7 items, the person who was working that area came over and asked me to step back. I stepped back and she cleaned the entire console or checkout lane. And I was a little frustrated because I only had about 3 or 4 more items to ring through. And I kind of said to her, I only have a few more items. I'm just about done. I'm pretty sure I might have said it a little snottier than that. But I was wondering why she was doing it. And I said, I only have a couple more items. And she said to me, well, if I don't clean this thing, they're going to yell at me. There's no way I'm going to get in trouble for this. There, it's clean. And she stepped away. Now, that's a story with no embellishment and the best imitation I can do. And I was really shocked because I know it's a stressful time. I know that fear and anger are cousin emotions to one another, and that she probably is nervous about her own situation. But think how much different it would be if her smart communication during a difficult time had sounded like this. She had 2 choices. One, wait until I was done with 3 more items and then clean it from the next person to say, there you go, we're looking out for you. Or if for some reason she felt she had to interrupt in the middle of my order, she could say, I know this seems odd, but keeping you safe is our biggest let me rephrase that. I know this seems odd to interrupt you in the middle of your order, but we are dedicated to keeping you healthy. Let me wipe this down for you. And then she wipes it down. I think version 1 is better, but if she felt the need, there were certainly better words. For those of you who are managing other people, please make sure that you're coaching them on the right attitude of we are here to be helpful, not they're making me do this, so therefore I have to do it. In closing, I have to say that I believe that disruption is the perfect time to reset your service levels. And I hope that you're able to take the time and the energy to be thinking about what it's like on the backside of this, because I believe it's coming and that we need to be ready. I really thank you for taking some time to listen. I hope you've got some helpful tools, and we'll see you the next time with more answers to challenging questions. Thanks for listening. Now we got to figure out how to get out of here. I think it's the button that says end stream. Thank you, everybody.